Ordinance Section 12102B. Scott, would you like to make some comments on that, please? Please, sir. We got a agenda up there, you need to look at it, on the bottom, on the back page.
Working? Okay, good. I'd met with Sam and we'd kind of talked about how the police jury could have some more input and not quite as open-ended on some of the opportunities for solar companies to come here or developers to come here. And essentially what he wanted to do was to give the police jury a foundation for a project agreement that could be executed with a developer that specifies the important aspects to the parish of what that agreement may contain or what that project may ultimately look like. So you have setbacks, vegetative buffering, height restrictions, traffic plans, which will be important certainly as we move forward. I think that'll become more evident as we move forward with this particular with the projects going forward. Drainage plans, road use agreements, so all the things that are really important to the parish for both the citizens of the parish to be able to navigate, for the citizens of the parish that don't want to see a solar project necessarily right next to the road. You can put adequate setbacks depending upon the piece of land, the tract of land that you're working with, and the amount of traffic that's included around there. A vegetative maintenance plan so it stays tidy and nice, and you don't have something that's overgrown. So it really was something that to put you in a better position to be able to create the project that you'd like to see based on the tract of land that's out there. So nothing could move forward, and Sam was important to Sam to make sure that nothing could move forward before the police jury entered into an agreement. So that's what this ultimately does. It's not specific in what those setbacks be, because as Sam and I talked, he was, different tracts of land may have different needs. Maybe in one place you want 250, maybe in another place you're comfortable with 75. So it leaves the latitude up to the police jury and the feedback from their citizenship to be able to determine how they'd like that project to look. So that's ultimately what was being accomplished here with this ordinance update.
That's what I was about to ask you, but you answered that. I was going to ask what was the restriction for the setbacks and the heights, but you just clarified it. It makes sense what you just said. Thank you.
And Ms. O'Quinn and I were just speaking a moment ago about anything that's not in. So when Sam and I met, because from a legal perspective, the way I understand it, and I'm not an attorney, and you guys can clarify with him, if there's something additional you want to add to this list, this is not a list that can't be modified. If you're something you think that for a specific project that you'd like to have something else included as something that's really spelled out, then you have the latitude to be able to do that. So just because it said including guidance on the following provisions, my understanding is that if there's something that you'd like to see in addition to these A through K, that you can make those a requirement as well.
If folks would come up here and say, okay, we didn't know you guys can go in and change, would that be some type of verbiage to say, look, this is an open
I don't
feedback?
think legally it has to.
Okay.
My understanding of includes is it's just, this is what it includes, but it's not an exhaustive list.
But it could be a living document. We
Yeah.
can take away from.
So if you wanted to modify it within this, you certainly could. But my understanding is that even without modifying this list, if there's something you wanted to put in a project agreement specific to a tract of land, that you could do that without updating this ordinance. So you can talk to Sam and make sure, but we had discussed that. And I've done a little contract work in prior professional experience, and that was always the case. Including is not, this is the list, it's just, these are the things that have to be there, but you still have the latitude to adjust it.
It's not all binding at this point.
Yeah, we're taking public input, and I have Mr. Andrews here. He was interested in solar farms, Mr. Billy?
Yeah.
Come to the mic, please, if you don't mind. Thank you, sir.
I wasn't planning on saying.
You don't have to, it's a public hearing, that's all it
I
is.
came to listen, not
Okay.
say anything.
Yes,
Yes, I'm currently,
State your name, please.
do what?
State, state your name.
Punch it?
State your name.
Oh, Billy Andrews. My official name's William Doty Andrews. But I'm currently, right now, they leasing my property, just renting it, not in a final stage. They still have 2 more years with a short-term, 1-year lease at a time before they would start the project. And it's not been approved yet, the project for certain. So I am interested in the buffers and all of that kind of stuff that they have to go by in what you have down here. I'm not opposed to anything that you have down here. I'm just came to listen to see what.
Yeah, but
What was-
I want your input, we need your input also, you know.
Okay. I'm very interested in it because I have an interest.
You know, for sure.
Thank you, though. Thank you for y'all's.
Yes, sir. Any more questions from the jury?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
So, should this still go back to planning and zoning for like to get it hooked up into the ordinances? I mean, I don't know exactly
No.
how that goes.
Planning and zoning don't make ordinances, the jury said ordinances. Not planning and
Okay,
zoning.
so it would have to be changed depending on the particular piece of property. Like, Mr. Billy might have one kind of property, Yamisha might have another one, Tony might have another one. And the setbacks and all of that would be different, and at that point, how's that determined? Who determines that?
John Rushon with Planning and Zoning. According to the state statutes, any zoning ordinance change should be originated in planning and zoning. This being a change to the zoning ordinance should go to planning and zoning. This is a good set of talking points, 10, 12, whatever it is there, but for height restrictions, we need to have a height restriction on there. Just like for towers, we say 200 feet. It's in the ordinance. They know up front, 200 feet is the base. If you're going to go above that, you got to ask for a variance. Setbacks, according to the master plan, we have a 50-foot vegetative setback on anything that's non-conventional homes and stuff. In other words, that's in the master plan. That's what we need to go by, and it should be listed in this ordinance change, not just this outline of talking points. Maintenance, now their maintenance plan, that'll be site-specific. The local and state, federal and state permits, we have nothing to do with, but they need to assure the jury that they have them. Local permits, if they're gonna have a site where they're gonna build a solar farm, they're gonna have to get a heavy road permit if they're gonna put it on off of one of our roads, just like an oil drilling site has one. Or a logging operation, they have a specific permit, but we don't need to get permit specific. We can use the heavy use, just like we do for oil drillers. But that's something that needs to be listed under there. On-site traffic analysis and traffic plan, we need a set of hours when they're gonna be operating. I know the neighbors don't want 50 semis passing out there at 3 o'clock in the morning blowing their horns.
Where would the drainage plan come from?
Drainage plan depends on the piece of property based on floodplains. They might need a floodplain permit. If it's a wetland, they're gonna need a wetlands permit from Corps of Engineers. But all that needs to be delineated in this change on specifically what they need to get for the different permits. In other words, for when you say state permit or federal permit, Corps of Engineers, I think, falls under state. Not sure. Could be federal, but that will be federal and state permits, i.e. wetland permit, i.e. energy permits. DEQ has, I'm sure they have something, because solar panels, unlike nuclear rods, when you take them out, they're expended. When you collect on solar panels, they get worse as they age. In other words, they have more radiation through solar panels. So when they take them down, they got to dispose of them properly. The road use agreement is the road permit. Vegetative maintenance, having just come out of Maine where they have a solar farm every, looks like every half mile. They have a fence around them. And because this is not West Texas or Arizona where they only grow rocks and cactus, hedges and yopalm bushes, they're gonna have something that eats them. And you don't want them, vegetative thing, everybody typically uses sheep or goats because you don't want them spraying carcinogenics out there all the time to keep the vegetation down. You specifically, no carcinogenics, no Roundup, no Trilox, no nothing under a solar farm, because then you just not only ruin the land now, it's for the future too, and all the residents get exposed to it in the runoff. And in the decommission plan, they have to come up with that because they got to get rid of their panels when it happens. But it needs to specifically say in the ordinance, when a solar farm gets shut down, it gets returned to the natural state. All solar farms and hardware get removed. Specifically say that in the ordinance, not just decommission plan.
And that was I was trying to kind of yield into, yeah, so we got to have some type of starting point.
The other
Yeah,
thing,
it's a living document.
but we discussed, we kind of ran over it a little bit in planning and zoning, but they wanted to send it to the engineers. That's what the vote was, not knowing that the parish doesn't really have engineers right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But like Lewis said, if we put in the restrictions we know about, it is living, we can come back
Right,
and fix it.
back fix it, yeah, that's what I was stating, it
But
always
at
come
least
back.
put something in there.
Well, I'd like to say, I'm gonna just go ahead and get it over with now. Me personally, I'm totally opposed to solar farms. Just like JR just said, when they go bad, they just like running a nuclear plant. Okay, now, if all the solar farms could be down in hollers, like, you know, all there in East Feliciana Parish could be out of the way, that would be fine. Right there in my district, it's a large parcel of land, it's been rented or leased for 2 years, they got one year left. And I told the owner, I said, I'm hoping that they move on somewhere, but I doubt it. And the other thing is disposing. And if you travel, I mean, this man's in this business, if you go around like he's traveling, you go to North Louisiana or any spot where they take in 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 acres and turn it into solar farm, that's taken away from our agriculture, who grows our corn, grows our beans, raise cows, and it probably is a good idea, but long-range plan, I don't think it's a good idea, but that's me personally.
I understand what you're saying, but we can't dictate to a man what to do with his land, even though he might not want to farm no more, it's his property. That's your opinion, but
That's my opinion.
But
That's strictly
I
my
never
opinion.
was a man want to tell a man what he can do with his property, he can't do with his property. I don't think a government should never get involved in telling a man what,
Strictly my opinion. I
okay,
said that.
I know,
openly up.
but I never been for that.
And it's not personal, it's just my opinion.
Because one thing, I'm totally against telling a man what he can do with his property. The government got too much
Well,
interference now.
if we do like JR's talking about and really put the stuff in place, you know,
That's what we're doing here, that's the process we're gonna go through.
we'll be doing, and it goes to when we develop houses, develop any kind of property, that's what we have somebody for, to make sure that's done right.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, yeah, Scott Yarborough once again. Heard what Mr. Rushan expressed. What the intent here, and when Sam had really kind of put this together, so you're gonna execute a document that's a project agreement. And that project agreement is gonna contain a lot of the things that you've talked about, a lot of the things you're concerned about, a lot of the things you're concerned about. By going that way, you don't have to be prescriptive in exactly what that setback looks like for that particular piece of land. You can judge it based on is that track next to public roads? Is it completely isolated out in the middle of a cutover that's, that nobody really goes down? So you have the opportunity, so it's executed a project agreement including guidance on the following provisions. So you can say the height restriction for this one's 20 feet. The height restriction for this one, because it's in closer to an area that people may be concerned is 10 feet or 15 feet, whatever it may be. My thought is, by not being as prescriptive, but having the ability to tailor it to that particular track, then you're in a position to be able to create the project based on where the land resides, or what the landowner would like, or what the neighbors would like. And please clarify that with Mr. DeQuilla. I want to make sure that we're good on that, but that was our meeting and our conversation was, if it's in here, then we're saying the parish has the ability to, or has the requirement that a project agreement be put in place for this particular project. It's not covering every project that comes. So if you have one in your particular area that you want to see 500-foot setbacks or 250-foot setbacks, then it can be crafted and created that way. That was the intent, but I want to make sure that it's.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree partially with that, but let's say that Mr. Billy comes with us and he wants to put it in, and we're gonna give him a whole list of specific things on here. We're gonna tell him his height restriction is X, Y, and Z, and we're gonna tell him his setback is whatever it is, and we're gonna tell him his maintenance, and then Tony comes in and we give him different stuff. So we're making it an ordinance. Can we really do that, or do we have to specify what all this is? I mean, what we're saying is that all these things have to be looked at, but how do you say Billy can do this, Tony can do this, Yamisha can do this?
No two projects gonna be the same. It might be different topography on the land. Really, we just can't give one, can we?
That height thing, I mean.
But maybe the height,
would be the same.
time, yeah.
You know, but some things may
Be different, cause ain't no two projects gonna be the same. It's impossible.
If you wanted to make them exactly the same, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
If you want to say what they do on Mr. Billy's land has to be for Yamisha's and Tony's, then you have that capability based on the way they're structured. You can be that prescriptive, but if a developer comes in that is going into a piece of land or wants to put a project on a piece of land that has a significant residential area around it, and you'd like to increase those setbacks, then you have the ability to do that. So you can say this is how we're going to do it, and if we do this project agreement with this, and we're going to do it with the next one, but it does give you that latitude to be flexible in how you'd like to see a particular project look.
It's a purpose of the public hearing, have public input.
Along with what Scott's saying, if you establish minimums though, in that for, say, setbacks, we're gonna have a 50-foot vegetative setback, it's gonna be a 50-foot screen, but then you say contingent upon the topography of the land,
That's what I was saying.
it may be increased. Just
Right.
put that sentence in there, so
Me
it's
too.
50 foot's your minimum. However, if you're on a hill on Highway 10 and you're gonna, say Mr. Andrews gonna put it in the bottom land over there to the, right in front of his house, okay, we're gonna probably put a little further back from the road, because we don't wanna be looking down at the solar farm all the time as we drive by. And he don't wanna look down at it either, unless they're gonna plant ryegrass.
That's what we're saying. No two
Corn.
projects gonna be the same.
Billy Andrews. A lot of that, what you're talking about, is in the contract with them, that they have to have buffers. Now, I don't remember what the buffers were, but we stipulated in front of my house, but everywhere, they have to have buffers around Abe's old house up there on the east side. They've already, if they put the solar farm in, they already have restrictions in the contract that is already there. And I'm not saying you don't need restrictions of your own, but they do have them, and then they have to get the permits from the state, federal, and I'm sure here. And that's part of what, they've been doing this for over, this is probably 2 years now. They've flown drones, they've taken topography and other things, the floodplains and all of that stuff. They're doing that. Whether they're gonna find out they can't do it or not, that's one thing, but it is already, they have restrictions.
But
So-
they've come up with restrictions with the property owner.
Well,
Not
yes, and
parish
some are already in place federally and state.
Okay, yeah, 'cause the
They're
state just
already-
came up with some new guidelines.
We can't supersede the state or federal ordinance. We can't do it no way. Can we? No.
I don't really know what,
No, we
you know,
can't.
what the law is, but they have to have the buffers.
Yeah.
You
right.
could do one of, it would never, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they blocked it all the way in front of my house.
Has that solar company ever come to us, Jeff? Would it go to you? Where does it go?
I called them and told them about this meeting, and they didn't show up, that's on them.
It's my understanding that Sam and Scott put this together to protect the parish, and it would be a case-by-case basis.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's
No two
why
the same.
the verbiage is the way it is proposed, because it's gonna be based on the agreement that each individual project has with that particular project.
Never stating just that, no two projects gonna be the same. They're not.
Right.
It's impossible.
But it's entirely up to y'all.
These safeguards for the parish that we're trying to in place right now.
But at the end of the day, they have to go by the homeowner's rules or the landowners, right? And then whatever the parish decides to do,
Exactly.
so.
Now, Mr. Arnold, that's my opinion. Okay? And everybody got,
I made my opinion.
yeah, and that's my opinion also. That's my opinion. Any more questions? Solar farm, it's gonna be a part of the future. That's where it's gonna be. People oppose it, but people gonna have solar farms on their property. And we don't wanna prevent them, do you? Do y'all wanna prevent people putting stuff on their property? I'm asking, even the jury. You wanna make things so restrictive that you can't do it? That's why you get paid the big money, make a decision what y'all want, and then have a vote on it. But just to prevent people from having solar farms because you don't want one, you know.
Well, if we say it's gotta have a 10-foot buffer, and they say, oh, no, we only have to have a 2-foot buffer, then we are gonna tell them.
I know, that's what I'm saying, it's a
We
living
are
off.
gonna be telling them, and we need to be able to tell them.
If you set the minimums, then
Then
if
you
the
can always go-
landowner says he wants 250
That's
feet
it.
more instead of 50, that he either works it out with the landowner to get that 250, but the parish is covered.
Right, but,
Our standards are set, and these are the minimums, okay, 50-foot buffer, like anything else, it's like the fence around the outside and a perimeter road, when they talk about the maintenance plan and vegetation, you gotta have a fence around that solar farm, because you don't want just anything wandering in or wandering out, because if a vegetative plan, most of the time, includes live animals,
and we
it's
could,
acceptable.
and we could have a minimum, we can always go up.
That's it. They have a perimeter road all the way around the project.
Exactly.
Inside the fence.
Go ahead, Mr. Rushian.
Tony Rushan, I also sit on the Feliciana Farm Bureau Board, and Farm Bureaus wrestle with this issue. They have the same feelings Richard has. They don't want to see farmland used for solar panels. Any arable farmland, they don't want to see used for solar panels, but they also don't want to take away from the individual property owner's rights.
That's what I'm saying.
But the state, I think Chrissy alluded to, has come up with some guidelines, and I think you should look at those before you approve something to make sure you're not getting below their guidelines or above their guidelines. In other words, you don't want to be, you can be more restrictive, you don't want to be less restrictive than the state, because then that would put you in odds. So I think it would be really good to look at theirs, because they've also been wrestling with this, because they have, Farm Bureau is a pretty big lobby, but they've kind of been neutral because they don't want to see the farmland go to solar panels, but they don't want to trample on a farmer's rights either. So, but they've already had to split hairs. So, I mean, you might want to look at exactly what they do before you put anything in place, because
They put something out in the last jury bulletin that we got. It was in there.
Yep, that's all I got.
Yeah, it's I think it's Act 274, and each parish has the ability to opt out of that and create.
And we did
their
opt,
own.
we did opt out, right?
Right. So
And we did.
You can create what you want to create.
We opted out of it?
Yeah, we opted out of it.
It's brand new, isn't it?
No, we opted out of it. Senator opted out of it too. We voted,
We
yeah,
got ahead of it, Sustainable looked at
yeah,
it.
we opted out of it.
Not your last meeting, but the meeting
Before.
before that, when we set this public hearing, we did opt
We
out.
opted out of it. One more, any more discussion? If not, let's call the public hearing to a close and get ready for our regular meeting. But I'm gonna say this before we close. I would like each jury to investigate and look into it for themselves, okay? Just don't take my opinion. Read it for yourself and get your own understanding of what you want and what you don't want. 'Cause I don't wanna force nothing down nobody's throat. But you gotta be fair with the landowners also. So I'm gonna call the public hearing to a close, get ready for our regular meeting.
Happy birthday, Kristen.
Mr. Billy, thank you for coming, Mr. Billy. Okay. Now, 6 o'clock, come call the regular meeting order, please. I will do the prayer and ask Ms. O'Quinn to do the pledge.